All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome in to the Slate. This is a DraftKings show that airs Monday through Friday. We come to you after the 4 p.m. Madden Sim over on YouTube and Twitch. And, of course, those of you watching on our DK Nation Twitter platform, Brendan Glasheen, Jeff Ulrich with you for the next half hour or so, taking you up into the night slate of Madden simulations. We're talking a lot of golf on this Monday, reacting to the Honda Classic. Each of us had a little skin in the game. Some of us more than others, but we will discuss for sure, react to what the day was yesterday and really the whole weekend down in Florida. PGA Tour staying down in Florida as we go over to Bay Hill with the Arnold Palmer Invitational this weekend. Some big names coming up this weekend that are going to compete in comparison to last week. And then at the end, there's a little NHL slate. Jeff has a favorite play tonight. There's a little NBA we can get into as well. So other sports are welcome, but we will start with golf. And Jeff Ulrich, please, your leadoff thought from the weekend, the Honda Classic.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was fun. Obviously, Chris Kirk was one of the dudes I mentioned last week and had him in my bets. And he did cash for me, like a top 8 each way. But, if you bet him top 10 or you had him in a placing bet, that was obviously the only way he came through. Pretty clutch birdie at the last to hit that. But, from the outright perspective, I mean, I kind of thought it was over after the first hole on Sunday. And, multiple people told me on my internet feed, Brendan, that, Daniel Berger had already won the event on Friday. So pretty crazy little end to that. I mean, just seeing Berger implode. That's what happens around PGA National, though. I mean, you look at the event, you saw guys like Fleetwood, Sung JM, guys who were up there in the betting odds. I mean, just not make the weekend, not even come close. You saw a guy I liked in Louis Oosthuizen and shoot 5 over to begin the week. Now he did rebound, but I mean, that's just the type of course PGA National is, man. It is super, super volatile. And I mean, another big winner here. Like we had Keith Mitchell a couple years ago. We had Matt Jones last year was over 100 to 1. So that's actually 3 winners in a row at the Honda Classic, 100 to 1 or bigger. There's a theme, obviously. It's a weaker field, and it's just a super volatile course. That may probably one where you just want to not maybe lay off the favorites for a week.
You mentioned, I saw something you tweeted out in reaction to the results from the weekend and yesterday, and you had made mention that on Straka, who won the event, he had made the cut the last 2 years at Honda, the last 2 seasons, and posted 2 top 20 finishes already this year at previous events. Some of the trends you had posted earlier in the week. I guess the lesson learned here is follow trends, sure, but keep an eye on those fringe guys who don't necessarily completely check all the boxes to completely fulfill the trend. The guys on the edges are also very viable as well.
It's the perfect way of putting it. I mean, I throw trends out not to have people say, oh, like if this guy finished 6th instead of 5th 2 years ago, he doesn't fit the trend, I shouldn't bet him at all. Don't do that. That's silly. I mean, Straka he didn't have a top 10 on the year, but he had finished top 20 in a couple events. So he's playing well. And you can also look at strokes gained data and know guys are playing well. If a guy finishes 20th, but and he was striking it really well, maybe just didn't putt well last week. Well, I mean, that almost counts the same as a top 10. I mean, he's obviously playing well. And then obviously you had the course experience. He had some solid results, not great, but solid. I mean, when you make the cut at PGA National and you finish in the top 40, there's so many reasons why, you could finish T30 instead of T10. You maybe just hit the ball in the water on 17, in the second to last hole. Maybe he was playing great the whole week and made a quad. I don't know. I didn't go that deep on Seb Straka, but again, he had the made cuts there. So it's a great point you make. And I always try and tell people that if they ask me, that's how you use trends. You don't just, it's not got to be cut and dry. It's, do these guys coming close to fitting these? Do they look like they're kind of the same players that we've seen win? And if they do, you should keep them on, especially if you like them, right? I mean, obviously you should be looking at other data and stuff, and if guys are actually playing well and things like that. So
yeah, I think a trend is just one of those things that helps you secure confidence in your pick, and that's a good way to start, but not an end all be all situation. You can make that argument in any sport when it comes to betting any event or any sport. So just something to keep in mind, that there are some other names, especially in that event. But now we make the transition. And once again, Jeff, if you have thoughts too on the Masters, that is coming up. And we talked about this a bit last week. That's an event, more of a public event that folks buy into. The seasons are changing and March Madness is over. And that's when people really get really all dialed into the golf. But we will certainly dive in now to the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill Club and Lodge. What are some leadoff thoughts here? Just reading up on the DK playbook today. Reed Fowler is very high on a couple of things in terms of what to look out for in terms of lineup construction. We can certainly go to DFS. I'm curious on your thoughts about John Rahm. He's going to participate for the first time in his career at this event, but comfortability playing in the state of Florida at some of these courses, and also course history might be pivotal to making a lineup this week.
Yeah, no, good Florida form is definitely something that, I mean, when we're in this entire Florida swing, I mean, some players just have experience. It's not even necessarily that like, oh, guys always play well in Florida. It's more just experience playing like the courses. I mean, oftentimes we see guys when they break through for a win around here, like they've done well at one of the other courses in the past. So, I think experience definitely matters at Bay Hill. It's definitely from a setup perspective. It's very major championship-esque. I mean, they grow the rough out here. Like the fairways, they actually widen some of the fairways a little bit, but if in a weird way, like they've made the course harder because like the fairways may be wider in a couple spots and maybe more open in some spots, but the rough is up. And so when you miss the fairways, it's even harder. And then they've also replaced the greens a couple of years ago, I think it was. So they've run a little bit faster than they normally did. So this is a venue that's played really tough. 2 years ago, it played as the toughest venue on tour. And like PGA National, there's a ton of water here. You've got to hit some really you've just got like no bailout approaches basically is what you have, or your bailout is like in a sand trap that is like really, really difficult to get down to, like a sloped green or something. So, there's no fancy bear trap here, but there's most of the holes here just put some kind of pressure either on your tee shot or approach to where like you're either bailing out into like somewhere where it's going to be really hard to get an up and down, or you're hitting into the water if you're a little bit offline. So very much like a major championship-esque course. And for the last 6 winners here have been major championship winners. It's a good course. Like I think Bay Hill over the last couple of seasons has played tougher than PGA National, but I also think it's like a fairer test. I mean, the winners here typically don't just play, don't just like gain a million strokes on approach. They typically do everything well. They hit it well off the tee. They gain a bunch of strokes on approach, but they also end up, kind of just gaining like 5 strokes putting. So it's a good course. We've seen bombers win here like Bryson, but Tyrrell Hatton won here 2 years ago. He's not big off the tee. Kevin Kisner's competed here. You don't necessarily have to be a bomber off the tee to win at Bay Hill either.
Rory won it in 2018. Bryson DeChambeau, the news this morning, he will not compete at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. So last year's winner will not be participating. Lee Westwood finished just behind him at 10 under. What are some other things that jump out to you? I know, we brought up weather a little bit last week. Weather was interesting to say the least at the Honda Classic. They got wet there on that last day, but you think there should be some steady wind over the final 3 days in Orlando this weekend? Yeah.
I mean, again, we always, the wind the last few years here it's been pretty like consistently up, and it looks kind of like a similar forecast here. I mean, it looks like Friday could get up some gusts, like, pretty gusty, to the point where it's going to be affecting play. So definitely I'm going to be watching the weather a little bit this week. If you're making DFS lineups, I mean, I would certainly keep an eye on it. Potentially like a good wave stacking opportunity for Friday afternoon. And I'm just expect like tough scoring again. I mean, I don't think this will be a birdie fest or anything like that. And the winning scores winning score even last year, I mean, it was 11 under par. And that was with Bryson, like hitting it, like perhaps the best he's ever hit in his career. Maybe sans that one US Open win, but yeah, this is a tough course. Not a ton of birdies outside of the par 5s. You gotta score on the par 5s here, and then just hold on for dear life on the other holes. Essentially, if the wind gets up, you're going to see very similar to last year.
I see some comments here in the chat, especially on Twitch. Good to see some of you in there. Miami Misfits is in the house. Jerry, if you've got questions about NHL or NBA, we will certainly dive in. Make no mistake, we're using golf as a jumping off point today since folks want to get those lineups set. It's important this week with some bigger names in the picture compared to last week. Jeff, reading your article, and I encourage you all to check it out over on the DK Playbook, dknation.draftkings.com/playbook. Rory McIlroy is all over your article, and Reed Fowler also brought his name up as it pertains to making a DFS lineup starting Thursday morning. So you think he's a pretty good starting point this week, and Rory is, let's see, the second most expensive golfer in the DraftKings contest this week.
Yeah, I mean, Rory just loves this course. I mean, you look at course history, it's one of those things where, you know, you don't call it an anomaly, but I mean, we get a few of these venues. It's kind of like Hideki Matsuyama at Phoenix. I mean, Rory, the dominance he showed at Bay Hill, like, it's just from a strokes gain standpoint, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, he's first in strokes gain total by like almost 20 strokes, I think, over the next guy in the field here. So, you know, his worst finish over the last 6 years has been T10. I mean, I don't know. Like, even when Rory has come in here not really playing that well, he plays well at Bay Hill. It just sets up really good for a guy who's so consistent off the tee, because he's not hitting out of that huge rough a ton. And when he is, he's closer to the hole than the other people. So you do see the advantage there for a big driver, the golf ball, like Rory. But it's not just driving it big; it's driving it big and straight, because he hits more fairways than most guys who drive it as long as he does. And for whatever reason too, I mean, Rory's really putted well here. I mean, that's the other thing. You know, he's kind of known as like a streaky putter, a guy who can really go cold with that stick. But for the most part at Bay Hill, man, like, it has just been smooth sailing with that club. So I don't know, a lot of different factors, you know, you sort of suggest why Rory likes this. I think he prefers the little bit of a tougher test and the little bit more of a major championship setup. He's always kind of, especially later in his career, said that. But I mean, I know he's up there at 11-1. He's not that much cheaper than Rahm, but when you're starting a DFS lineup, I mean, it's hard to get off Rory this week. And look, you could go with Rahm and Rory. I mean, I mentioned the major championship thing. You're probably going to see the big boys all finish in pretty good positions this week, if not one of them win it. So
say you do go with those two as studs, Rahm and McIlroy, you got to find some value, right? Because your average remaining player salary is just under $7K.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you were going to go that, I mean, look, that's the other thing we didn't mention off the top. This is an invitational event. So we only have 100, I think it's 124, 123 entrants into the event. So, you know, right off the bat, I mean, the top 65 in ties make the cut. So you have about, just from a mathematical standpoint, like, it's like a 60% chance of making the cut if you're in the field this week. Like, assuming everyone was equal. Obviously, everyone's not equal. But, you know, the 6-6 rates in DFS should be higher. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be. But with that in mind, it does sort of lend itself more to a stars and scrubs strategy. So a little bit fewer people in the event. It should mean that, like, the guys sub 7K, you know, they're a little bit more live to make the cut and potentially pay off. And there are, you know, I like this field a lot more for going with that strategy than I did last week. I mean, last week I was definitely having trouble. There's a couple guys. I mean, I like Sun Kang. He missed the cut by a stroke. Didn't really work out. But there's some pretty solid names, in my opinion, like under 7K this week. I'll start off, you know, let's go deep, because we suggested that strategy. I mean, let's talk about Danny Willett, who's, you know, came over last week, made his first start on the PGA, finished T48, gained like 5 strokes on approach, played really consistent, only made 9 bogeys the whole week. I think he made like 1 triple or something, but he was hitting it well. And I mean, Danny Willett's played this event. I think this is his 3rd year in a row at 6,400. If the putter wakes up, I mean, Willett is a guy who can certainly land a top 10 in an event like this. He's, you know, multiple, obviously a major winner, but even over the last couple of years, this game has kind of come together. So Danny Willett's the first guy under like sort of 6,500 that I would look to if you're really looking to put it together like a real stars and scrubs lineup this week.
Okay, good deal. Wasn't a great round 3, but did finish strong and started strong at the Honda Classic over the weekend. Just more specifically on Rahm, isn't it concerning a little bit that this is his first time at this event?
I mean, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, again, like we just, I kind of already, showed my hand. I mean, we're talking Rahm versus Rory. I wouldn't be shocked if John Rahm came in here and won it. But I mean, Bay Hill has traditionally been an event where guys play it a couple times before they actually break through. I don't think that John Rahm from a DFS perspective is a bad play though. I mean, that's why I kind of brought up the idea of playing both of them because, Rory played pretty good his last time out at Riviera. He obviously put together a top 10 and he putted well there, which is good. He actually outperformed Rahm. So Rahm wasn't terrible or anything. He hasn't been terrible, but with the experience factor, you lean slightly to Rory. I think those guys are looking fairly close, but I mean, it's more of like from an outright betting thing. I mean, I'm not scared to play John Rahm in DFS this week, and I don't think anybody should be, but especially if it's going to scare people off, but from a betting perspective, more like at plus 750 or under plus 1,000 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. I mean, that's kind of enough for me to say like, no, thanks. I mean, I don't think this number is like too out of whack or anything. And you could even make the argument with like a smaller field. It's maybe not even a terrible number on the world number one, but I'm, I'll definitely, that's at least a good reason in your head to say, okay, well, I'm not going to bet John Rahm this week. And there's probably better reasons to not bet him as well, but.
No Louis from Jeff this week or Pat Mayo.
Thank God. I mean, I thought Louis was going to make a run last week. I thought he was going to make a run after the second round. I mean, look, if he had been able to put together a couple 65s, we could have had some, but he made the cut. He struggled back. Everyone was down on him. He saved people's DFS lineups. That's the main thing for Louis. Yeah, he burned my money, but whatever. He saved
only he did what he did day two. If only what he did day two, day one, we would have been in great shape. But that's how it goes, right? How about Matthew Fitzpatrick? You wrote up about him in your article.
Yeah.
9,200 on DraftKings in the contest, and he is plus 2,000 to win the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've seen we've seen veterans win here too, but we've seen some younger players sort of break through here. Bryson kind of grabbed a win last year. A couple other names that are eluding me, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Matthew Fitzpatrick is a player who's definitely capable of winning on the PGA Tour. And I don't mind, especially like for DFS and betting. I'm looking at guys like Zalatoris, Fitzpatrick. Could go down a little bit further, maybe like a Keith Mitchell. These guys, I think, are more focused on this week than some of the veterans. It's not like I don't think the veterans are like gonna in it to win this week or something, but like let's not forget the Players is next week. I mean, yep. I think guys like especially Fitzpatrick, who he's really looking for that first PGA win to kind of legitimize himself. He's a very talented player. He's been close, and he's played this event 7 times already. Like Matthew Fitzpatrick isn't very old, so that's a lot of times for a guy who hasn't been on tour that much. I think it's a great setup for him because it's right before the Players. Like I said, you've got big players in here, but they're not necessarily looking to peak this week. And I think him and Zalatoris both at that price range, really interesting. I'll side with Fitzpatrick though. He's got the experience edge. He's a far, far better Bermuda putter. And I think his tee to green game is really underrated. It's really been clicking the last 2 events. Like he was hitting it great at the Waste Management. He's 10th in strokes gained off the tee. He hits a ton of fairways. He obviously doesn't hit it as far as Rory, but he hits fairways, man. And like that will keep you out of the rough at Bay Hill. That is half the battle. If you can do that, you're getting clean lies. Like I'm a believer in Matthew Fitzpatrick. Eventually will pull off some big wins in his career. And I think he could definitely start this week. So I really do like him. I wish his odds on DraftKings were bigger. They do have him. The last time I checked, he was like plus 2,000, which it's pretty short. Right now. It's pretty short. It's pretty hard for me to sit here and make like a huge argument for him at plus 2,000. If I was betting him, I'd be looking for a bigger number, quite frankly, but I think he's very live to win this week. And I certainly, for DFS purposes, am all over him on DraftKings at 9,200. I think him and Zalatoris are my favorites in that range.
So we talked about this last week too, but how would you approach if there is an opportunity for it, or if you think there are? The probably answer is probably yes, but would you consider a live betting strategy to this event like we talked about last week, or is that a little more complicated?
No, I mean, I don't think it's more complicated. I mean, this is another volatile venue. I mean, I think I think you can apply a lot of the same things like, that we did last week. I mean, I know we were talking about like, don't go. I think one thing, and I'm not sure where Sepp Straka was after round 2, but I think one thing we did say was don't go too far down the board. Although, like after the second round, because things tend to tighten up a little bit, but so I'm not sure what position Sepp Straka was in after what did he go? 71. I mean, actually he was pretty close to the lead after
he went 71, then 64 in round 2.
Yeah. So I think he was actually I think he was in at the top 5. So, I mean, it kind of did float with what we were saying, don't go too far off the top. You're not going to make up 10 strokes at PGA National. And I think much the same at Bay Hill, the same opportunity applies. Like if you're live betting this, I mean, I'm just looking at some of my stats right now, like where guys were. I mean, Rory came from 6 back after we've had some pretty big comebacks, but recently, guys have been, Hatton was leading after round 2. Bryson was 3 back. Molinari was 4 back. So you could probably go a little bit deeper on Bay Hill. And I think maybe with the extra par 5s, that probably makes sense too. A little bit more opportunity to make up strokes, get hot with the putter. So there's probably a little bit more opportunity to bet guys back in the betting odds this week. I think that kind of rolls, but I wouldn't look too far back. And I mean, to the other side of that, this is not one where I'd necessarily be looking to back a leader. This is a tough venue to hold leads on. And I'm just looking of the last 5 winners, only one entered the final round with the lead, and that was Hatton. So, it kind of speaks that, especially going into Sunday, there's probably going to be some guys looking live down the leaderboard and potentially juicy in the odds. So, yeah.
No question. I mean, that was exactly what played out at Honda with Berger. He maintained a lead going into the final day. Was a heavy favorite live if you took a look at it.
I'll be dead honest. I thought that event was over. Like I know I was trolling people online and telling, but I mean, I wasn't really disagreeing at all. And I wouldn't have if you had put me back in that place. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if Shane Lowry made it close. And I mean, obviously he played well too, but I mean, the Berger meltdown was pretty jarring. I mean, if and the other thing, like, it's not only that he lost, like if you had told me Daniel Berger lost that event Sunday before the final round, I would assume, he shot like 71 and like somebody pushed him to a playoff and then nabbed him in a playoff, but not like that he shot like 75. So yeah, it was surprising.
Yeah, he started strong Sunday as well.
No, I know. That's why I thought it was over. I think most people did. I think most people were the opinion. It's like, oh, okay, it's looking good. It's done deal. But
any developing opinions before we make our way to both the NBA and NHL? Any thoughts on the Masters? Any updates that you're thinking about as based on previous weeks?
I mean, it's definitely, the time where I think you need to like start seeing what the top players are doing, or maybe more specifically like that they haven't done. Like we haven't got a start from Bryson yet, unfortunately. And like we may not get a start from him until like, maybe after the players, who knows? Oh, okay. So that's concerning.
Is Bryson, it's an injury, right? It's a hand injury. I'm pretty sure, right? I'll double check.
I think it's a wrist. Injury. Yeah. And then, we're seeing other players, potentially start to get close.
Real quick, hand and hip for Bryson. 2 injuries.
That's right. Yeah, it was the hip. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to speculate, but it sucks when a guy who swings that hard starts to get injuries like that. I mean, we've seen Jason Day. Anyways, and like I said, speculation. But yeah, I think for the Masters, I mean, there hasn't been much movement on the top players. I mean, we're seeing Bryson go down the odds a little bit now, but even a guy like Brooks, who really hasn't played that good, he's still only plus 1,600. I mean, there hasn't been much movement. We're not really getting big odds on any of like the really top players. I mean, nobody sticks out to me like that's really dropped down the odds market. I mean, I think the guy who sticks out a tiny bit to me is Cantlay at plus 1,600. He started the season pretty well, but he's for some reason like has, bigger odds than like JT and Rory. So that sticks out a little bit, but I mean, we're not talking like huge things. I think where you should be looking for value is with guys like Berger, who's still plus 4,000. I mean, I know he blew it, but this was a dude who was like looking really, really good for like 3 rounds, and he's about to blow the doors off this event. So he's plus 4,000. Sung J M, who's got a runner-up finish there, is plus 4,000. My boy Usti is plus 4,000. I mean, this is probably where you will be getting like a little bit of value right now, but the Masters odds seem to be pretty tight in the futures market. Adam Scott is actually another one that's probably, and actually if we're looking at DraftKings odds, and we are obviously, it's a DraftKings show, we're looking at DraftKings odds. I mean, Adam Scott at plus 65, probably my favorite future. I mean, right now, he played really good at Riviera, and this is a player who doesn't need a ton of warm up. He knows what to do going into the Masters. I don't know why like his odds would be the same as Ricky Fowler. He's got bigger odds than Paul Casey, Webb Simpson, Rose, even my guy Fitzpatrick, who I like. I mean, like Adam Scott's playing well. He's a former winner. He's got way more experience. And quite frankly, he's just a better player than most of those guys, even the guys at 4,000. So I think Adam Scott plus 6,500 right now. If I'm looking at a future on DraftKings, that's it. That is the best bang for your buck, in my opinion.
Hovland hasn't changed from last week. Still 2,200. I know that's a name you mentioned last week. So maybe.
Yeah. And that's a good point. I completely skipped over him. I kind of was assuming he was like under 2,000 with like Xander, but I think
he's still at 22, which he was last week.
I think 2,200 for Hovland is, again, why is Hovland shorter in odds than Brooks, Cantlay, McIlroy? I know he's only played there like once or twice. I can't remember. I think he's played there twice now. He was T21 last year, though. I mean, he's got some experience. And I mean, this day and age, man, like these guys, they don't need much. They figure things out too quickly. Look at Colin Morikawa, winning the Open already and a PGA. I mean, you're basically getting a slight discount on Victor as well. So.
All right. We have a couple more minutes before we have to wrap it up. Want to start NHL? I've got a couple of NBA things we can get to. I think 3 games tonight in the NHL. That's all.
Only 3 games. So I mean, I'll be semi quick. I like the Bruins, as I said off the top. I mentioned to you. I mean, they've been really good on the road this year. They're 14-6 in their last 20 road starts. Swayman been excellent on the road. I haven't double checked if he's starting. Maybe we should do that now, but I'm pretty sure he's starting. I'm pretty sure Jeremy Swayman's starting because I haven't seen the odds move at all. But if he is, I really like the Kings money line. I actually like the Kings even on the puck line. Marchand
you like the Kings against the Bruins?
What's that?
You like the Kings against the Bruins?
I like the Bruins. I like to bet.
Bruins. Sorry. I thought you said you said you like the Kings on the money line. That's just
no. Oh, did I? Okay. Well, I just said that incorrectly. I definitely like the Kings I definitely like the Bruins. Excuse me.
There it is. Yeah.
Now you've got me saying it. I like the Bruins.
That's what you said. I'm not making it up. Producer, tell me that's what he said.
I like the Bruins at minus 125. I apologize. Jeremy Swayman starting. It's confirmed.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good line for the Bruins. They got Marchand back. Their offense has been clicking. Kings have a weak penalty kill. Kings have been beating up on weak Western Conference teams. And I'm sorry, like the Eastern Conference is just, it's superior this year. These teams that are like the Bruins that are like 6th, 7th, 8th, most of them are better than the Western Conference teams who are in the same position. So I think you're getting good odds there. Like I said, the puck line is in play. You could look at this Maple Leafs Capitals. I know a guy I work with, Paul Bruno, with RotoWire throughout today. Like he likes going to like the alternate totals on the Leafs and Caps and maybe going like over 6.5 or over even 7.5. And I kind of like that idea too, getting good odds. TJ Oshie over 1.5 shots on net. That really sticks out. I think you're only getting minus 150, but I certainly do not mind that prop. And then the Canucks Devils. I mean, I'm probably going to lay off this one, but if I was betting this game, I'd probably just take the plus money on the Canucks. The Devils are, I mean, I don't even know who they're starting. It's like Nico Haas or something. He played good in his last game, but the Devils are just very up and down team. The Canucks have looked like a lot better over the last 2 starts. Surprised to see them at plus money, to be honest. So if you're looking at that game, I don't know, you just need a tiebreaker. I'll lean Canucks, but the other player prop I don't mind from that game is Dougie Hamilton to score a point, minus 105. That one just stuck out, being a little bit too big in the odds for me.
Dougie Hamilton over 0.5 point, minus 105. There you go. Very good. All right. Jerry has a couple questions. I'll do my best here to answer them. So one of his questions is about Giannis. And that makes a lot of sense because Giannis Antetokounmpo is the most expensive player tonight on DraftKings. I don't hate it. You could have a differentiation in your lineup by playing him. I will say this. The Hornets are coming off an overtime loss to the Pistons, which is just freaking gross. Because the Pistons, I thought were going to try and lose games, and apparently not.
Man, with the step back winner, like Larry Bird-esque.
And that was, it was wild. It was great. It was Olynyk. Kelly Olynyk drained the game winning. That's a game winning shot. That's right. So it's the second night of a back-to-back for Charlotte, which bodes well, I think, for Giannis. Charlotte now has to leave Charlotte and go to Milwaukee. Yeah.
It's one of those situations, like on paper, this should be a blowout, but you wonder if the Hornets will just be up for the game because they played so bad last night and embarrassed themselves. So, yeah, I mean, that'd be the big worry with Giannis in DFS would be like the blowout, and he only plays 30 minutes. But I mean, I don't know. It's the Hornets, man. I mean, you get you some Giannis in the lineup. I don't think you'll regret it too much, most likely.
Yeah, well, Jerry's concern was, do we get full run out of Giannis? And I guess that's why he's asking, because of the blowout potential. The line tells you everything you need to know.
I mean, look, and in these situations, what we often tell people is, if the Bucks score 140, like, maybe Giannis doesn't play the fourth quarter, but he's probably already scored 70 fantasy points by the time he's sat. So I think it's fine. I think the Hornets probably will come out. I mean, they're not super banged up, Clash, unless I'm missing something. Like I think they have a young team. I think there's a better chance the Hornets come out and make a little bit of a game of it. So I'm just looking at this slate. I mean,
no Gordon Hayward. That's been a thing for a while. So.
I mean, like, who else are you going to pay up for? I mean, I guess, the Timberwolves playing the Cavs. That's going to be a pace down game. I would just start with Giannis. I mean, I wouldn't get scared off here. I mean, I think you got to stack some bucks.
Yep. You got the matchup, second night of a back-to-back for Charlotte. Overtime loss, like we said. They don't play defense. Look at the opponent's ranking against power forwards and centers.
The Bucks really haven't been that good of late either, have they? I mean,
they're kind of coasting, I guess is the right word to put it. They haven't been bad, but they haven't taken that next step, which you'd think there'd be a little more, and maybe this is their time to have a little more urgency because of the Brooklyn.
I'll be dead honest. I think Charlotte makes a game of this tonight. I think that probably the embarrassment factor with the young team is pretty high right now.
I want to check something really quick. So I hope Jerry's still tuned in and he this is beneficial. Just checking really quick. Against the spread this season, second night of a back-to-back, Charlotte is just 3-8 though against the spread.
Okay.
Second night of a back-to-back. So, and that was a big trend to watch last year because teams were playing each other twice. Like they were doing these. Not only was it a back-to-back game, but it was a back-to-back against the same opponent. And we've had those cases this year with the home and homes because of COVID and limiting travel. The other question was a value question about, I think he's talking about Goodwin, the point guard, or Lamb.
Brandon Goodwin, the Cav.
The Cavs, the Cavs are banged up at point guard.
Yeah, Garland still out, I assume, and Rondo out.
Yeah, I also like the Cavs getting points here at home, even though they are banged up. They've been a very good team at home against the spread. Now, Goodwin's been a big part of that.
And they're playing the Timberwolves. So who's the other point guard?
Levert. You can play Levert at point guard. So the backcourt is Goodwin and Rondo.
Oh, was Rondo back? Out too. Rondo's out, isn't he? Pretty sure he's out still.
So that's so Goodwin will be. I think Goodwin will be popular, but 5,200 it's a tad steep for what
it is.
Is a guy, and you got to remember too, just off the top of my head, the point guard on the other side is Beverly, and he plays pretty good defense.
That's actually a good point. Who is the other guard he brought up?
Levert. Karis Levert is out.
Oh, he's asking who to play. Yeah. What's Levert's price?
Pardon me. No. It's Goodwin or Lamb. I'm assuming
Jeremy Lamb.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Jeremy Lamb is probably more volatile. Like, you're probably not, I don't know about the minutes with him right now either, but
31, 20, 29.
I would probably just eat the chalk with Goodwin. I mean, he's going to he's actually been pretty good too. I know he's like from a fantasy production, like he's been like a point per minute guy, at least I think for his last two starts. I would roll there personally.
Okay. The chat is telling me that Garland is playing.
Garland's playing. Okay, well, scratch everything.
Garland's out. Garland's out. It says Garland is out.
Yeah, if Garland's out, good one. I mean, it's pretty much that simple. Like,
Garland got ruled out yesterday.
Yeah.
Then again, I remember the chat doing this last year during Madden times because they're trying to mess with each other. You know, when Kaufman would make those contests. Oh, hey, I heard so and so's out, just to get the edge on the
fantastic.
Very
Don't
good
read the chat anymore.
All right. I think that's all the time we've got because we've got Madden here coming up. That was good. Good stuff. We got a little NBA, a little NHL thought in there at the end.
Yeah, I should have prepared like a 3-point prop or something. I'm trying to think of one right now. I'm just looking at these games, but can maybe look at the OKC Thunder for a 3-point prop going up against the Kings. Kings just don't play defense.
They sure don't.
I don't have one. I'm sorry, guys. I should have prepared it. Next time.
I'll tell you what, though.
I'll bring a 3-point prop every Monday, guys, from now on. I'm going to do that.
I like that. That's good. I caution people. I saw DraftKings Sportsbook put this on Twitter earlier. Be very careful with DeMar DeRozan because this dude is not. I think DeRozan has covered his points prop in like 13 straight games, and
it's ridiculous, man.
There's pretty even money coming in right now on the over or the under for his prop. I'm pretty sure it's up to 29.5 right now for DeRozan. Which now I'm curious as to what. Yeah, he's still doing it. It's amazing.
If he's playing the Heat, I mean, if he doesn't go under tonight, he might not go under for the rest of the year. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And just to double check before we go, I'm assuming there's plus money on the over because Miami does actually play defense and Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker.
Oh no,
it's different moved. Dudes in him.
I'm getting 28.5 now. So it's under 28.5 is plus 100.
Wow. Okay.
Plus money to take the under. I'm not doing it. You guys feel free. I don't touch guys this hot.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I said. Caution. Be very careful. They're playing Miami on the road. Big conference game. 2 teams at the top of the league. I think Miami's being overlooked. Bulls are a good story. This is a big spot for Miami, I think, being at home. So, okay.
Great.
Next Monday, 3-point prop coming your way, including golf analysis and maybe NASCAR too. And
Definitely
NHL
NASCAR.
From Jeff Ulrich. Okay. Are you back Wednesday? The golf guys? I mean, I guess I'm a golf guy now because of, my contribution.
You're definitely a golf guy. I know Emerson likes to make the exclusive Wednesday show. You're definitely part of the golf guys. Brandon, sorry. It's because we just talked about Brandon Goodwin. Sorry. Right. But you're definitely a part of the golf guys. But yes, I will be back Wednesday with Reed and Emerson. I think Emerson might be in Florida right now, but he'll be on the show. He's informed me. He's not missing it. He doesn't want you to grab his Wednesday slot. So
I know why he's in Florida. He's probably going to go to Orlando from Jacksonville. He's going to drive to Florida, drive to Orlando and give a live report from the course at Bay Hill.
He's got something like that planned. Anyways, we'll be back Wednesday at 5 Eastern.
All I need to see is him with an umbrella or something, walking around with a mic. Guys, I'm reporting the weather here. It's very windy. He wouldn't do that. It's too much work. All right, that's it. Thank you to Eamon and Andrew behind the scenes. For Jeff Ulrich, Brendan Glasheen. The slate returns again tomorrow. You'll have NBA with Kaufman, Shirag, and Matt Meiselman. And then, of course, The Sweat, which airs at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time here on YouTube, Twitch, and also the DraftKings DK Nation Twitter page. We'll see you then. Have a great rest of your Monday.